Hi, I'm Ross Minton, this is Grow Your Own Life, and today I'm going to make a Hügelkultur bed. As always, please like and subscribe to my channel, that would be fantastic, and without further ado, let's get to it. So what is Hügelkultur? Basically, it's a raised bed and you can put anything in it, like logs and leaves and any form of organic matter to fill that bed up. And the idea is behind it that you basically create like a compost heap that you put compost on top of and you grow in, but then the nutrients get sucked up by the plant's roots as the wood, the leaves and everything else decays. It's dead simple. It's really easy. It's not as hard as the name sounds. Hügelkultur. It's an awesome word, isn't it? Cutting a long story short, that's how I do all my raised beds, and that's how I save a hell of a lot of money on compost. Because if you've got 1,000 litre raised bed, it doesn't mean you have to go to the shops and get 1,000 litres of compost. You can keep all your hedge cuttings, you can keep all your weeds, you can keep logs, whatever you've got lying around the garden, and you can put them into the bed, and it's perfect. So as some of you might know, these are my new raised beds. If you watch one of my older videos, you'll see how they were made. Used from an old oil heating system. There's another one over here. And what I basically do is save all my weeds, save all my hedge cuttings and tree cuttings and everything. And then I will empty out the compost bins that have been dotted around the place, and everything will go into these beds. And that basically means I get free compost. Winner winner, chicken dinner. So the bed's now full up with the hedge cuttings and the tree branches, a few logs and twigs and stuff, and now popping in some old compost. Nothing fancy, it's just the stuff that gets put in the compost bin from the chickens. Basically chicken poo, sawdust, that kind of thing, just gets thrown in there. It's pretty good stuff really, but it's, you know, it is what it is. There's bits of twig, there's bits of leaf, there's bits of root, there's everything. You don't have to pick through it. For what I'm doing, this will be perfect for the mid layer. Oh, it's warm, it's warm, and it's like 9:30 in the morning. So I think I'll have another hour of this and then I might go home. Oh. Right folks, speak soon. So it's been a strange week really for me. I've done a lot to the start of the week. A friend of mine came to my house and he helped me set up the base for my summer house, which was really cool. Cheers Phil, thanks mate, because I'd never done it on my own. And then I started to empty out my compost bins to fill up my raised beds ready for next year. It's just killed me. it's just oh, I don't know, I think every muscle in my body has just screamed at me this week and just gone, give up. So I've had 2 days of not doing a fat lot really. I don't feel particularly great now. I had to come down and do the chickens. But it is what it is, you know, it's nothing new. I just need to rest. I need to stop doing too much. And I was talking to friend John on the allotment the other day, the guy with the magpies, and I said to him that I really enjoyed June. I relaxed and enjoyed the allotment, and I come down here and I did a bit and sat in the shed, had a cup of tea and all that kind of stuff, and you know, messed around with the chickens and you know, did some filming, spotted some wildlife, and didn't really do much work. You know, I harvested, I sowed a bit, but I didn't really weed or do anything like that. And then looking at my plot in July, I just gone, right, I need to put some work in now, especially because of August coming and school holidays and everything, and I don't want to have to do a lot through August. So yeah, July has been the month of get stuff ready for August really, and that goes back to what I was saying before in one of my other videos about with an allotment. If you put in 2.5 hours a week every week, and that, you know, includes winter and everything else. You can get away with 2.5 hours, but when you stop doing 2.5 hours a week, you know, all of a sudden that's 5 hours you're in debt to your allotment, and then it's 15, and then it's 10 hours, and so on and so forth. So with not doing very much in June, I probably left myself with, you know, probably 15 hours worth of work to do, which stupidly I tried to do all this week. And it's well, it's Thursday today, and I was rough yesterday, so, you know, basically 2 days of it has just done me in. But what I'll do is I'll spin the camera around and I'll show you what I've done. So we're starting to fill up the raised beds, and I've started to put them into the position where I want them. Those 2 trees have come down, which weren't blueberries. That's obviously made space for a pretty large bed there. That's going to be perfect next year for carrots and stuff. And that's just a Hügelkultur bed again. All the hedge cuttings that were there from these trees have gone into there, and then with the compost from over the last couple of years has gone on top. Same with these here. I've put this bed in place. There's a narrow walkway down the middle which will suit me down to the ground. I still left space here for the yellow raspberries to grow. Quite happy with that. And I've left space at the front where I can grow some wildflowers still. Quite important to me that I leave that area there for flowers. And obviously the tyres is to make a bit of a feature when I get around to it. I want to put some flowers in the top. Pumpkin's doing alright. So I've emptied out all the compost bins, and I want to have a bit of a rejig of these. So I've taken the compost bins out of here now. I need to redig the trench at the back, because that helps drain the plot in the winter. The previous person dug that out, it must have been like 6 years ago, and it oddly works because the water naturally pools to the trench. You come in winter and that's like a mini canal, you know, it's really deep, so I need to make sure that's clear for the winter. That's my compost that's been there for a while. That was where the beehive was a couple of years ago, if you remember. But there's been mice and stuff in there, and they've eaten the beehive, which is, it is what it is. Fair enough. I was going to show it you, but I left it too long. My fault. So that compost and soil there will go into the bottom of the raised beds over here. This pathway coming through here needs barking again. I've got the bark for it, as you know. And then obviously the compost bins from here have gone because I've emptied them out. And I've got a few ideas for this bit, so I want to keep it clear for now. The idea was I'd quite like it so I could get my scooter all the way in and out. But then I've had another idea that I've got to keep this walkway clear down here. That's the pile behind the shed where all my stuff gets stored, out of the way. But I want to keep this bit clear. I've got to keep this bit clear anyway, so I can access the chicken coop if ever I need to do any repairs. And also, we're not supposed to put anything right up against the fence, or build any structures up against the fence, which is cool. I'm fine with that. But what I'm thinking about doing is running some rafters up to the shed roof, having an entrance way here, so you can imagine it, and extending the chicken pen further, so it would give them even more space. So as a human, I would access it through this door here, and I could go in and do whatever I wanted to do. And then this would be locked off still even more, just to do with security again. And then maybe somewhere have a little arch cut out, so the chickens can come into this bit and forage in the day and do whatever they want to do, and it'll all be fox-proof and everything. But then they can go back into the enclosure, which is padlocked off, and hopefully be safe. And then the idea behind that is that it just makes it more space for them, and hopefully a bit more security. I know if people want to get in, they're going to get in, but hopefully if someone's got to smash off 3, 4, 5 padlocks, it becomes a bit of a pain. I don't know, but it will give them more space. I don't intend on having any more chickens, I just want them to have more space. I've said all along that I wanted to extend the run as far as possible, and I could still technically go behind slightly, but could be a bit of an issue with access. So I don't know whether just to keep that walkway there for maintenance and stuff. But if I enclose this and put a gate here, so you would open the gate inwards, you'd step inside, which would be as high as that, so good height for me. Slightly sloping roof maybe down there, again chicken wire mesh, whatever, so it'd all be open to the elements. And then I could still access eggs and everything else while I was in here, but then the chickens would have this big play area. And then I could even have a compost pile inside here for them to scrat around in. I could, quite easily put a compost pile there, and they could mess around in that. So that's the plan I'm thinking of at the moment. Don't know what you think. It won't be done anytime soon, but as I've cleared the area now, I don't think I'm going to fill it with anything. So yeah, all the compost bins have been emptied now, and it's where to put them. I don't want them against the fence. I want to sort that bit out, and I find that it's not that they're out of the way, but it's just become a bit of a cluttered area. I've got to repair my picnic bench, which the bowling club were throwing away in the winter. It's pretty solid, to be fair. It just needs a few brackets put in it to make it sturdy, and that'll be great for sitting down here. So I want to tidy this area. I'm happy with that area there, because that's all my canes and tools. That is what it is. This area there, the log store. Again, the log store can probably stay, but I just want to tidy that area up. Tractor tire is going to be used in the chicken enclosure. Thinking about filling that with sand and putting it in the pen that I'm going to build, so they've got somewhere to dust bathe. So where do I put the compost bins? I can hear you ask. Well, I'm thinking about dotting a few about in places so they're easily accessible, so I haven't got to always walk from, like if I'm over in that corner weeding, I don't want to have to walk all the way there with handfuls of stuff. I know it might sound really silly to you people, but obviously walking is the issue that I have, so why make it harder? So I'm thinking, if I have one compost, get my words out, Ross. If I have one compost bin in that corner there, I have another one in that corner there, maybe have one this side of the apple tree here, and have one obviously inside where the chickens are. That means I've got a compost bin in basically all four corners of my plot. I might even put one next to the greenhouse down the side there, and then that way I've always got space for put compost and weeds and stuff in, and hopefully it means I'll produce more compost. I mean, I never get rid of any of my stuff anyway, but I'm hoping that I'll use them more, in the sense that I'll always be putting stuff in it if I have them dotted around. Because at the moment I tend to leave my compost piles like there, which is really cool, because like I said, that's where I grow stuff the following year, but kind of want it to be a little bit more tidy, if that makes sense. So that's what it is really. I'm hoping to have that done by the end of the month, fingers crossed. Not the chicken thing, that can wait. That'll be imagine that'll be an autumn type job when it's cooler and I can come down here and I'm not really sowing as much and harvesting as much. I can potter on with that. And to be fair, you know what the situation like with me with the greenhouse, it took me 12 months to get the greenhouse up. I'm hoping this is something I can do on my own without much help. I mean, once I get some 12-foot runners to go across, should be fine. I can screw those in, put the chicken wire up, get the stapler out. Just have to make myself a gate or something, or a door, so that should be alright. Anyway folks, that's about it really. Still harvesting cucumbers, which is awesome because we eat loads of cucumbers. My daughter particularly loves them, so more cucumbers, which is quite nice to come down here every other day and then get a couple of cucumbers. That's putting a dent in the shopping bill. And in fact, the only salad things we've bought over the last few weeks is tomatoes. My tomatoes are green and huge, but they're just not ready to pick yet, they seem to be delayed slightly. Well, saying that, talking to other people, a lot of friends of mine, especially people down here, have said that they haven't got fruit yet, and they're surprised that I've got such big fruit. But I'm trying to rack my brain back to last year and think what tomatoes we had, and I'm pretty sure I had the cherry tomatoes ripening by now. But I'll have to flick through my videos and figure that one out. But everything else seems to be doing really well. Potatoes are ready. I've got to harvest my Yukon Gold. See, they're the Yukon Gold is ready to harvest now, I'd say. I'm hoping they'll be alright, because they were amazing potatoes when I did some last year. They tasted so nice. Probably the best chip potato I've had. These have probably got another week or so left. And then I've got some Desiree potatoes at home that we bought from the supermarket that have started to sprout. We bought them months ago. And I'm thinking about just sticking them in and getting them in the ground and planting them. And if I get some new potatoes in the autumn, I'll be quite happy with that. Right, we'll say goodbye to the chickens and then we'll be off, folks. That's really just a quick update, isn't it, girlies? Yeah. And fellas. Yes.